for passing you.
Welcome everyone to more open source development things. Another disappointing day in the RISC-V and ARM things. Yeah. For everyone new to our stuff, we usually do T2 Linux, and after 2 weeks in customs, finally, by the way, do we have viewers here? Does stuff work? Hope stuff works. Boards arrived today, but without any bootable things. I received the paperweight. May I present to you a totally brand new RISC-V board things, and even an ARM board thing to use instead of booting. And now I couldn't reach the vendor yet. It's like vendor, it's like, hey, how should I boot it? So yeah, that's the future of SBC is you receive a board, it's dead. It can blink a red LED. Yeah, that is, ladies and gentlemen, what everything is incompatible, the incompatible RISC future is. Post office found you, right? It's UPS, not the post office. Also, it appears he was in the wrong building and press didn't find button and wanted still to come to me. But anyway, welcome everyone. First there. So we could. So that's brand new silicon. That's probably I can disclose it. SpaceMid K3. Super brand new stuff with botch wires. There with botch wires. True RISC-V goodness. Like there's some Louis Rossmann, like at least, yeah, some. Yeah, they just they didn't save on an SD card. Which dist should you use, man? Glad you ask. I only use T2 Linux. So we could try to build here shit. However, so I have access to some secret sources, but I'm at this point, which dashboard is it here even? Stared, that's nice that you stared my repository. I think instead of wasting our time with this, I think I wait for vendor to come back with me with bootable images. Because so how does RISC-V boot, or many of this ARM? We would need multiple things, which are often these days for cost. So why this is basically the brave new world that ARM has done for 20 years, that ARM boards and RISC-V boards come without firmware. PCs came with a BIOS, right? So most of these boards are, even Raspberry Pi, are basically dead paperweights without boot code. IBM was very clever to have a basic input-output system, and the PC clones were also very clever to reverse engineer and cleanroom re-implement this. But some of the RISC vendors did not yet get the memo that compatible generically just booting stuff amazing. So we have on RISC-V, we have usually some SPL, some initial bootloader initialization stuff, then sometimes some U-boot or Linux kernel. So some boards directly can load some Linux kernel image, but most boards, ARM and RISC-V, use a U-boot payload and then boot Linux kernel, which even the U-boot payload. So instead of wasting our time, the thing is I have here some secret things. But I think even the secret things they made available to me like earlier, Linux K3, like that's not including the, why do I have X Libre here? Why is that here? Why is this in our GitHub repos? What? Why is this in my repositories? Why is that here? Maybe because someone just mentioned me, maybe because I responded to some, that's funny. Anyway, I have here some things, but even the things I have do not include the SPL. Welcome everyone. So basically until vendors get back to me with some bootable image things or more secret sources. But then the things also I don't really want to build that, right? Like the SPL and stuff. For everyone new to this stuff, oh wow, that's a super thing. That's amazing. Since your open source dev launch yesterday, you ate your open source dev launch yesterday, mildly successful YouTube launch. So this is amazing. Appreciate your every super things and things here is amazing. So instead, what if we in T2 instead, like, so I could sit here now 3 hours and curse that nothing boots, and so right now it doesn't even have UART. It's blinking in red light. I think we don't curse here 3 hours on blinking light. However, while we wait for vendor, also like basically be clever. If you send stuff, maybe send it in a bootable state so that people after 2 weeks in customs can directly get started. However, what if we use the chance to work in T2 to make better boot infrastructure? Because even when stuff works, it usually annoys me a great deal. And thanks and shout out again for this amazing super thing there. So what if we use the chance to change our ARM and RISC-V boot infrastructure instead? And that's basically coming back to our previous talk, making booting better, right? We recently added kexec to our initRD. So what if in T2, to better support these boards, because this will not change, like even if we made now some $1 million foundation, let's call it the Better Boot Foundation, the vendors will do this, right? Like we can know standard committee of let's make an ISO standard, like ISO lead 1000, a amazing open firmware IEEE 1275 boot standard. Nobody will use it. So what if we change, because so the problem is now also, I Googled, I did not find a public repository with K3 space mid boot stuff. I thought like, nah, maybe I load some random other device thing to test my prototype stuff, like maybe it does something on some UART. I didn't even find any. I mean, maybe if you sit there and Google now, maybe you find this. What if going forward we split our boot stuff? Because recently for the desktop, we already saw my Steam Deck here and even my ThinkPad and even I think my parents' PC, I believe. I changed the boot thing to prepare for whole system updates and factory reset. That might be visible here, that I now have some overlay OF here, overlay FS. That is mounting, so I'm mounting the base image. So what if, and by the way, we could even make this some freestanding project, does someone have a name like better, like board support boot, like better boot, like better FS BTR boot or whatnot? Linux boot, petite boot. Because the problem for me is, so even if I would find some random image with like Ubuntu or Fedora, I would need to remove the boot code and stuff. What we could do instead is introduce some new better boot standard of having the vendors just release the 50 or like 20, 40, 50 megabyte boot image for use with Fedora, Debian or T2 Linux. With also the Linux kernel, because with all the RISC-V boards, like with nearly all RISC-V boards, I have the issue that unless I or someone else from Gentoo also sits somewhere and forwards port the patches, a lot of boards are on 6.6 or 6A, 6.12, whatever. Because the vendors are like, yeah, we are done with this board. We sold it. We move on from K1 to K3 or whatever. And then you are stuck with old stuff anyway. And then you download the latest T2 Linux or Ubuntu Linux, and it doesn't have this stuff, right? So we could basically by the way, why do I need to sit here with the most successful Linux distribution that is T2 Linux? And why is there not a Linux Foundation? Like, hey, maybe I should call the Linux Foundation. let's make a embedded board boot standard thing. So basically, there could be a standard that we like. Basically, as long 20 years ago, PS3, Sony PS3 petite boots that we also still like to use. You download the vendor's thing, at least for initial bootstrap and stuff, and interchangeable. So making the boot that is the kernel, the kernel init.rd and the modules and firmware, like lib module version, so that you can just boot it like a PS3 and then continue other Linux distribution. And I just weeks ago, last month, I set the first building stone in T2 with this overlay support. We could even boot. So basically the boot could be you boot this overlay thing with the base file system, the read-only base file system will be the kernel and modules and firmware. And then you mount additionally your latest and greatest T2, or if you have to, Ubuntu and Debian Fedora on top of it. That would also solve always downloading 2 or 4 gigabyte of vendor Ubuntu just to get the boot code, right? And then you don't need to manually mess around with this. You just put it there on your drive, maybe specify your overlay thing of like, this is the boot thing, the boot image that boots, often even from the vendor or our repository. Yeah, what do you think? Because like this is super frustrating, right? Also, it's like, so amazing that RISC-V vendors looked ARM board and thought, copy that garbage. Yeah, amazing, right? ARM isn't as bad as if it could be. It's still terrible, but at least it's not ARM version 5.7. Well, now you have ARM 64. I mean, you still have the issue ARM 64, but nothing works, right? Like with the Qualcomm, I spent like, if there were not other people who had done the Qualcomm drivers for the I'm actually logged in here. That's actually the Qualcomm. If not other people and Qualcomm had written all the drivers, it would of course be a year of reverse engineering things or more and drivers. But even this is mostly upstream, except we pulled in some additional things. And it cannot just boot any ARM, right? So even for this, like even for X1 Elite, and so basically this new, we need a name, T2 supported boot thing, T2 overlay boot thing. And then we could add additional features. So for this new Linux-based, new 20-year-old new PS3 way of booting, we could even add this net boot, like net booting other, like enter URL and, or this, well, what was it yesterday, Velcro or whatever boot stuff, right? Yeah, so that would be my idea, because like this state here like is absolutely ridiculous. I wonder the other day, how does it even work? The other day, where does this appear? Here somewhere, because I just joined 2 more secret things. Where would this be? I'm logged in here. Customize your pins. That would be a good idea, because that's not the best thing here to pin. Would the secret repository show here? Because I do not know the URL offhand. I only forked this here because I think Günther Röck said he will delete it, which is okay, the secret things do not show here. That's not ideal. How should I remember? How should I click on other secret project things when they don't show here? New project. Anyway, yeah, what you guys thinking? Because like this, I have this the same. I mean, I could check, but or actually, yeah, we have the same thing. Actually, we could waste our time now with the Softgo SG 2042 thread RISC-V Ripper as well. I think now with Linux 7.0, it's finally nearly completely upstream, but I would need to flush. They changed the device tree. So basically there I would need to flash the latest firmware initial program loader stuff because device tree incompatible. Amazing, right? To further prototype that, we could, yeah, I guess that would look that would be a plan, right? Like, so you could have basically even downloading. So we could make this a download. Often, sometimes, yeah, often, sometimes, you need some special secret other initialization binary thing in there. Like even on ARM Alviner, on Sun 4i or what they call this is Pine phone, this Alpine 64, Pine 64. So I guess to make this universal usable on anything, I guess it would need to be an image download, because it sometimes needs a special FAT partition that some very limited microcontroller thing initial program loader fetches from the SD card. And yeah, then you would only need, like, so you would download the image, some 50 or 100 megabyte image. And if you wanted to add your own Linux, you would resize that or add in partition, or otherwise you would boot that from an SD card and have another boot partition. I think that would makes the most sense. It's just said that just an LNet I applied for funding. Of course, we didn't get this funding. I just had applied for the sport support things. I still need some better way to encode the initRD things. Oh, they have this is also the wrong one here. So how would this look currently? Let's do this somewhere else where it's more permanent. Oops, because it's a VM. That's so how's it? How should the project name? Has someone a good name for that? There is, of course, U-boot, there's OpenBoot, Linux boot, core boot, like a better boot, overlay boot, someone a name. Yeah, boot. So this would be some image, like SD image with partitions. Then you sometimes would have like P1 magic, for example, like initial program loader. Then partition 2 would be doesn't matter. I mean, sometimes even U-boot, where boot. I mean, IPL or FAT, like for Raspberry Pi, right? And exact boot. Yeah, we should, Dr. Schubert, I appreciate your enthusiasm. We should choose something LGBT. I see what you've done there, but we wanted this to be American government approved, right? We wanted that to be successful, right? BTRB, better FS, better boot, anyone? It's the best name I have right now. So even for the Raspberry Pi, because like currently we don't, so this is directly also T2 related, because currently we don't have a Raspberry Pi download. And welcome Skazi. So, and that is also, even for us, it doesn't really scale. Like, so even for T2, it's a huge scalability pain, which is why we also didn't do that yet. It's a scalability pain. It's a two-way scalability pain, because like for us, it's a lot of work for image generation, for Raspberry Pi, for Sun 4X, for Orange Pi, and who knows what. Here's even, I kid you not, I got two prototypes. This is RISC-V. And this is ARM64. And yes, that is exactly the board that Jeff Gerling has just shown on his channel. I guess I could write him an email, because like for the ARM board I also don't have a boot image. Man. So that is a Meta Computing ARM framework module. That also has, but hey, that's better. Instead of one red blinking LED, this one has 4 red blinking LEDs and doesn't boot. Yeah, that's an amazing experience. You get a €679 prototype board which blinks 4 red LEDs. And the vendor is in Hong Kong and like maybe answering tomorrow. Also, like, yeah, they don't have a download here. So, and this is a gigabyte framework plastic enclosure for, I think was it giga? Did I say gigabyte? No, not gigabyte. Some case here. What's the case thing? So that's a framework compatible casing for, what's the name even? I don't know. Yeah, I could ask Jeff for like boot image. Like, hey Jeff, the vendor is not answering yet. Do you have your, must be one somewhere. Which one? If you want US government to like it, you need to name it Boomer boot? Great boot? Greatest boot? Anyway, this was a joke. I don't want the US government to like it. It was a joke. But it needs, other Linux people need to like it. We cannot call it T2 boot and then, like, we need to name it so that people with Arch or RMBN would want to use it. They probably like, or that we need to name it so that Phoronix reports about it. Yeah, I also Googled for that. I also didn't find a bootable image for that one anywhere on the internet. It's like, hey AI, where's a bootload image? Sorry, Dave, I did not find a bootable image for that for you either. Because that one is, okay, the reason I opened this, also shall I subscribe? Review videos as soon as this shit boots coming. Like, shall I subscribe on YouTube? Because similar to Jeff, we have stuff to review. Chinese ARM things here, 6P, I think it's, yeah, so 6, actually I Googled for that. Don't need Igor's lab for that. This ARM one is of course more powerful, so the RISC-V, the SpaceMid K3 is easy boot. Now we're getting somewhere. This one here is more powerful. This 12-core ARM 9.2 for workstations and stuff. And the RISC-V, the SpaceMid K3 is said to be probably Raspberry Pi 5 territory, if it ever does more than blink a red LED. And easy boot. Yeah, then we need to register the. We can only do what probably the domain. We can only do what domain is still available. It's probably not available anymore, right? Like probably some other entrepreneur easy care things, not a paid advertisement. Hear me out. Ideally, the domain should this time be available. Yeah, so I wanted to say it's a two-way scalability issue. The one on one thing, for us scaling this image generation, and what was the other way? I wanted to say it's two ways. So for us, somehow wanted to say the users which need to download. Yeah, so the other way is, so for us it's creating all the images, so it's a two-way scalability issue. For us creating this stuff and download, and for others to use it, like even Ubuntu. Like for Ubuntu or any other Linux, you would need to have that matching bootable image, right? It's an absolute pain. Does these Chinese ARM be legal, have official ARM license? Probably. It's ARM cores, so I don't think they get like ARM cores as in it's not Apple Silicon. Why should they? I mean, of course it's legal. They just pay the. I mean, it's not like they get ARM cores for free. I think it was written there Cortex A whatnot. Not every. In contrast to popular belief, Chinese companies also pay money and just license stuff. So it's allegedly a Cortex A720 performance or whatnot. $1 paragraph. Why do you say paragraph one? Not. Anyway. So to boot this, so basically this image would then be set up so that it boots. Here would be the files that would probably usually be ext4, but it also doesn't really matter, like something like ext4 with like boot, lib firmware, boot and lib modules and lib firmware in. Oh, and the device tree. So, I mean, this could be named whatever. Of course, ideally keeping that common. Is that the Sims money? I thought it's a normal paragraph sign. Did the Sims use paragraph sign for money? I don't know. I think I never played the Sims. I only played SimCity. So for us, and then in here, so normally you would so this would be able to boot anything, and then you would boot like with root equals, because like so this would boot and see all the devices. So you would boot with root label or whatever T2. The only thing is, so there is nothing really that much novel about this approach, except, is this by the way the syntax? I think this is the syntax, right? Label equals to 2. The one innovative is a little bit far-stretched. The new thing would be to use overlays, because like, so you could just, I mean, this is how it could just work. The only thing is you need label, and you could have GPU driver in here, like GPU, like you could have like user lib, where is this Mesa stuff in, you could have their GL whatnot stuff for proprietary RISC Power VR thing. And because like, so you would need, like for this to fully work, you need overlay FS anyway. I mean, maybe you could even use this modern OS tree. I'm not really, I mean, it's probably just using overlay OS, right? The thing is, I prefer things simple. Example OS. So what does it previously? Previously OS tree is a system for versioning updates of Linux-based systems that considered Git of closely inspired by falsely things usage. Red Hat in Endless OS through Endless OS? What is Endless OS? Mobile American things developed Endless things for what? Flatpak, Atomic Spins, Atomic Host things, implementation details. Files provided by commits are by default immutable and done by mounting the file system itself as read-only. OS allows mutable directories to be stored things, provide mechanism. The thing is, I did not look into OS tree, and I really don't, I mean, maybe it's probably just using, like, probably someone here would know well, like IPX, yes, exactly. Welcome, friends. Welcome. Happen. Can you maybe tell, like, for what do I set up multilib for? You mean on T2, or what for? You mean on T2 for gaming? So the novel thing would be this overlay. You would not necessarily need it, except for, because like, so it boots here, but for the system to fully work, it would need the booted system would need to see the lib module here to further, like, if you, first of all, yeah, if you plug in a USB drive and stuff like all your other devices, right? So currently my implementation, so what we could do today as a first step while we wait for vendor to like, do I even have my phone here? See if vendor answered. Guess China asleep. We need some better way to specify overlay things in T2. That's what we could do today already with more overlays. Could you have base 64-bit? Oh, that's an interesting idea. Oh, holy shit, yes, you could with more overlays. Actually, holy shit, yes, you could overlay. You could totally do that. I mean, the only thing is you would get gazillion files that you don't necessarily need. Like etc and stuff, like by default, like it's actually, wait, yes, on T2 I want to get Steam Proton running, but can't seem to. So the last time, like, holy shit, that is interesting, cool look. So yeah, it would it would not be the cleanest thing, but it also wouldn't really hurt. The builds should be pretty identical. They would have just all the etc stuff in each of them, but basically if you stack them, you would stack them 32-bit and then 64-bit on top, so the 64-bit stuff would cancel that out. And as it is read-only, you would anyway have the writable layer on top of that. So in T2, that would be even either. So then here you would have your OS overlay, right? Any, like this here X4 or any, but like this obviously any FS here. Usually ZFS or whatever. So the overlays, like, holy shit, yes. So the way currently, this is a little bit messy in T2. I just hacked it in with overlay equals root fs squash fs. And this is what we need better. We need some nice syntax. So what you want, so maybe we should have two things. We should not special, so because people could have additional things. They could store, for example, people could have the base overlay thing on some partition, like the base image. People might have different requirements. Or it could be a file. Like for me, it would basically usually be enough if I had the file here and the overlay in the same partition, so that it would basically be root fs, squash fs, and then overlay, for example, and overlay and work. Comma separated list one that uses final read write. Yeah, so the list we support already. So we need to be careful. What we already support in T2 is if it's encrypted. So that would be, if it is encrypted, all right. So for example, we might have SDA 3 or any label equivalent. And how did we call that? Do we call it like VG0 root, for example? I need to, or then, is this what we use? I think that's what we use, right? So, but so even this list, so basically we could still use the same syntax. So because the code can detect that is a looks container and like open it, like crypt setup, open looks, def SDA3, and then proceed, like remove it from the list and proceed, right? Internally, oops. How would it look if for a normal case it would be root equals, so usually you would use label or other things, or UUID equals stuff, which might then be, that will be substituted to like SDA3 or whatever. And then we would have two things. What did you say? Because, and welcome Chris, how are you doing today? What did I say here? I said that and that. For the normal case, so that would be if you had the OS base image written to a partition, that would be that. Root is SDA3, which there might be squashfs, overlaid by def SDA4. Only tired, Yomi 2. Overlay 32-bit squashfs things was my thought. Yes, the only thing here now is, so currently I use overlay, so I have that here. Currently I use this. This doesn't scale this was a first test that doesn't scale at all. And when the day I made this, I said like the name sucks. We need something better. To answer your AI boot, artificial intelligent boot to make shit actually work again. So the way to multilib would be, the easiest thing currently is to download the matching 32-bit build of T2 and copy the libdir into libdir. That's a little bit messy. Maybe we could create a script of T2 import other 32-bit thing, but maybe we should not even do that and go straight to Kuluk's idea and tell the users use this new overlay stuff. So if that is not another partition, so you said overlay. So I think I don't want to use overlay here. Because it might be too different. I think we should make it work so that if you specify multiple things, like they just overlay comma separated in root, that would be the much cleaner thing. And the only thing I wouldn't want to write, I wouldn't want to repeat the devices here. So for the normal case, that would be do that. And that would still be SDA3 for like the easy case that I use. But a file. And that would be root fs squashfs. We could actually, squashfs is already, file system is already in here. Like we could actually, maybe we should rename it root or base. And not to specify that, we could actually do it's on the same file system, And then you could 32-bit root 32 squash fs. Like, would that make sense? Swap file. So where colon would be file, and if it's the same device, you can skip it. Like if it's, oops, yeah, native mouse wheel, yay, native mouse wheel in editor. That is what I was thinking, but had not implemented yet. The only thing is that wouldn't make it writable, because this here would be, so we would stack read-only things on there. That here could be writable. Oh, by the way, we could write it like this, where it would mount that and then do that. That could be similarly supported. We could make it so that this would be automatically writable. Place the what? Wow, it might place the firefighters drive by and at the same time another comes near you. Yeah, that's Germany in 2026. Watching just dozens of other, I don't know how long, have good day. What? Just dozed off for another. Happy that you tuned in. So because there is one thing how to determine that it's writable, because so if we overlay this would be read only. What are we building? We are considering making booting significantly more amazing. Is this only for booting and for installing? So that would be the installed case too. I think our primary way, like, I think going forward, we should make this first class of mounting, booting via mounting the base, the immutable base image. So I think, because theoretically you could, and some people might want a write overlay on another partition. So that would be like, and then like a dev SDA4, right? So then you would overlay those together with the writable stuff on SDA4. What about bind mounts? What about, oh, Detard, welcome. How are you doing? What precisely do you mean with about bind mounts? And so this, I expect very few people to do that, but it would be possible. I wonder, because currently the installer is a special case, and welcome, Detard, yes, hello. How are you doing today? Doing mostly fine, except this day was another day of crazy not delivering things, stuff of spending time with not bootable ARM and RISC-V. Plugging USB power in new prototype RISC-V boards and watching them blink. Blinking lights. Watching LED, watch other people watch paint dry, we watch boot LEDs blink. So we could make this here implicitly writable if the original partition is writable, this could be the same. Otherwise, I guess we would need to test this if it is writable, and maybe then, like, if not writable, mount a tempfs on top, because that's what we currently do for our live. We currently have our live thing special cased. That members about Telnet ASCII Star Wars. Telnet ASCII Star Wars? What do you mean Telnet ASCII Star Wars episode 4? Or is there you mean there is a Telnet ASCII Star Wars episode 4? Blinken lights are fun though. Yeah, Blinken lights I'm more like this one. I've seen this Telnet episode thing. But with Blinken lights I mean real Blinken lights of Electronics 101. Also once, I think when I was young and naive, like 20 years ago, there was even Blinken, like at one of the Chaos Congresses in Berlin, they had on the House of the Lehrer, or what it's called here, this one, I believe. We had Blinken lights in the windows and you could play Tetris on that building. Tetris or Pong or both. 20 years ago. As far as I remember. That were a cool Blinken light though. We also, like, currently our live ISO code is a little bit hacky. If we make this here, if we implemented this like this, we could probably boot with, we could boot the live with root equals label T2. Root fs, which currently we don't. Currently we generate custom code for the live image, which is not amazing. Another point on the installer, you could have the installer ask if you want 32-bit and download its squashif as also. Yeah. The Steam multilib is such a mess. The thing is, the clean code guy inside of me does so totally not want to do that. But in practice, this clean code absolutism is what did not bring us market share. So the longer we refuse to implement first-class Steam multilib stuff, the longer we will not have more market share, which is... I saw the video of Tetris. It was really cool. Yeah, well, that were times. Can't do that anymore. What would be the bootloader grub? No, so for this there would not be grub. So I'm only saying this because it would, so this would unify, making our general boot infrastructure more amazing, and it would majorly solve the pain of RISC and ARM board support. So we would, yeah. Oh, how would you boot? So wait a second. And so for the embedded case, so the normal thing would be to, so live would be that. Oops, live would be default to label T2 or whatever, or T2 live or whatnot, to make it a little bit unique. And the normal. Now I added here so much stuff. Wait, is that even? Oh, yeah, that's, yeah. Oh, we need to improve the code further. This is after grub or U-boot. So this stuff, yes. But on RISC-V boards, yeah, on RISC-V boards, you might have U-boot in here. So on my idea of actually improving board support package things, U-boot would live in here of the vendor's special U-boot stuff. Unless one vendor, I think one vendor directly booted Linux. Was it Enders? I think one. I mean, or maybe actually, okay, maybe they bundled this. I mean, you never know. But like in a way, it's also. But this is also the recurring theme here, right? It is so stupid, and I say this for 20 years, not only with my microkernel. It is so ridiculous that for new boards they implement the drivers twice. This is also why I want my unified, clean microkernel and stuff with drivers only once. Because most vendors implement drivers for U-boot to have early booting and then also a Linux kernel, right? That is why some vendors actually, or very few, like some rare vendors actually straight load a Linux kernel image like Sony Petit Boot. Because then that was also the reason actually Sony was so clever with the PS3, right? They did specifically do Linux, directly Linux loading, because they didn't want to write a bootloader driver set, right? It's basically we write drivers once and then we petit boot kexec, right? Easy. On RISC and ARM boards, in my experience, it's either U-boot or something on EFI stub things. Yeah, so you might have missed the beginning. The beginning was I got here boards where I can boot nothing. And like here, right, like so on most boards they have nothing and you will not be happy booting anything anymore. So yeah, but it will usually be U-boot, right? HP does this on some of their switches too, and then kexec the new kernel. Yeah, I think the Endis, but maybe the Endis RISC-V prototype system thing I got a year ago, this first 7nm thing or so, maybe they bundle U-boot and the kernel. I didn't look closer. I only saw that it very relatively quickly loaded Linux. Maybe they loaded through UDIT. Let me quickly. We don't have so many people watching here anyway. Did T2 Linux implement new valves, new VRAM optimization? Not yet. Patch welcome. Let me quickly tune into a meeting. Let us continue in some 15 minutes. I should tune into some international standard thing and show my presence. Bigger problem is D3 and lack of ACP. Yeah. I mean, there is no ACPI mostly. It's basically device tree and stuff. So that is why I say bundle this stuff in some directly usable thing with IPL things. And do I have device tree here? Bail boot here. VM Linux. Init rd device tree binary thing. Let's make a 15-minute break here. Let's still image or whatnot, and I'll be back in some 15 minutes. So we back. All this pesky big business meeting call things. Do you also do meeting calls? The bigger, the more meetings. We back. Yes, I continue to edit some file meetings to inefficient without continuing some typing. So I was aware that the T2 init.rd was not the top-notch best quality here with this repeated code. To my defense, initially it started out like, we need to extract root, we need to extract init, then we edit this and we edit this, and I had this on my mental to refactor that. Yeah, pro tip, if you have the same 3-4 lines of repeated codes, it's, especially with these patterns here that are not so super easy to understand, then it's probably time to refactor. So what I saw, this pattern, by the way, the way this works is if we just substitute, if you're wondering, so this is the best, most minimal shell pattern to extract some term equals another from in shell. The reason this is needed here, so like swap equals swap and stuff, is otherwise this removal wouldn't match something, right? So this is basically, instead of coding if, this is basically conditional-less extraction. The only thing is we need to make sure it exists at all, otherwise this matching doesn't extract this. So this, if you're wondering how this works, this pattern is extract everything before swap and after swap, but if there is no match, it wouldn't extract anything. So this is why we need to add the safeguard to use this. This is basically the most elegant looking assignment extraction I came up with in shell before the age of vibe coding. Questions there, how do I get hired by this amazing guy? I'm jobless. I have intentionally not the most jobs to offer because I just wanted to have my peace and do my things. I said some details. I said before I was a couple of times severely disappointed, and that then I made the executive decision 18 years ago or 15 years ago. You know, I do my stuff as a small team, and then I get less disappointed. But I mean, I'm not hiring 100. Like I only hire 10x engineers. So best share, like, subscribe, watch many videos. Like if you understand most of the content of the videos, then you have a chance to get hired potentially, maybe. That being said, maybe I should make a second startup of actually, so because my startup is like my company I know for a long time. So my company has 20th anniversary this year, I believe, from founding as from incorporating as limited. Initially, I only owned it 50%. I purchased the remaining half but that was with a best friend. We founded that together, and I purchased the remaining 50% in probably 2010 or so. So that's 16 years ago or whatnot. But so maybe, the company we founded by just working ourselves, maybe it's time to make a Elon Musk-like startup of scamming investors by the millions instead of just working hard. Hear me out. Let's try startup 2.0 and like burn other people's investment money. That sounds like, it looks so fun when you watch it burning on Twitch and stuff. But anyway, overlay. Do we have overlay 2? Yes. So because then if I burn other people's investments, then I could hire more people that disappoint me of vibe coding shit together. So init. But yeah, how are your experiences? How is your experience as employee, as CEO, as founder, as what's your things still as init? Yeah, init is, I just did this, thank you. With a Twitch delay, I just did this. Yeah. Thank you for reminding. So, resume things, no resume, then resume. I'm not even sure if this code worked correctly here. This still, the problem is if I type this now, root flex equals mount option root flex. We have this pattern really often. Mount ops read only, mount ops. What did I just say? We have the mount ops. What did I just delete here? No resume, resume. What do we even do here? I still need to copy this up here, so man, this. Does this shell support? So I had earlier checked if this, because we're using a smaller. How do I get on the ground floor of the scan? What do I mean ground floor? How do I get on the ground floor? Let's see, is this message beeping here? Is this my family or? Wonderful. RISCV guy, check our GitHub. Okay, what an amazing instruction. Loving it. The thing is that the people that have the money have more money than all the people working for salary, so they could spend money on open source without noticing, and they spend any. The thing is that the people with the money have so much more money than they could spend any money on things, and they wouldn't notice. Unrelated of open source, yes. Does this shell I mean, this man page said array, but I'm not. I checked this because for the next step of splitting this boot stuff for. I changed this now to be able to better work because we need to split the root dev. I wanted just to clean this code up a little bit more before I split that more. Does it current local? Does it support local? Export if same is not given, things value local. Whose scope includes the current function. Historically reasons there are two ways to define functions name. Things functions define names syntax called things. However, the typeset special build is a function defines local was whose scope. Typeset special built in. I mean, not that we need this. nested var things, multiple assignment things of autoload typeset a view, aliasing, tool okay, so much too. If just we had one good shell and wouldn't need to use one small and one big shell. T2 sponsored by SpaceX, yeah. Go tell Elon Musk, but I think we are too woke for Boomer Musk. We are too woke and too ego for him. So oh, we could does that works, right? We use this. It sounds to me that they do not support local, but typeset local, whatnot. That's too meh for me. So so that's one command line. Remove argument 1. Totally readable, right? Everyone understands what's going on there. I always need to quote this. It could contain special stuff. Okay, we could even, just to be nice. Usually I would use local, but T2 usable by, yeah, if SpaceX and Tesla wouldn't be like so failing. Like, have you seen Tesla races recently? Maybe I should write Elon Musk a money-saving letter of, hey, want to save big on Linux? Don't delay, try to Linux today. I've watched Rust streams before, that feels very Rust. You mean the shellcode fails Rust? Okay, so command line. So the only thing is, okay, we could actually, we could pass the command line in and not use a global var. That would be kind of slightly cleaner, right? Like if we 2, 1, 2, then we wouldn't need to use a global. Oh, underscore, yeah. And so in my production code, I use underscore for internationalization. So that is the most, like, instead of K18, K18N, whatnot stuff, and it's like just string. Amazing. To be translated title. I don't know why not everyone is doing it like that. Underscore, like, change my mind. Underscore should be I18N function. Yeah, hexacode, beta code. Like, don't delay, switch to hexacode things today. So, I just changed that to, I mean, it's slightly less performance, so this is slightly slower on a 486, but this code looks slightly nicer without relying on a global. I mean, although no, it's not. No, it's not get command line anymore because it's not using command line. The thing is increasingly like now after jerry-rigging this stuff here for years now, like with more users and stuff and this foundation and all the viewers, we can finally make the code look pretty. And of course, the code should be so nice that people, like new users or Debian developers looking at this stuff, they should see this and like, wow, is this clean code? Such clean code I would want to have myself. So this here needs to be changed, but that is for later. What is this code here even? Ah, okay, I see what this code is doing. Okay. So get opt of some string that is 1 and the var that is 2. Echo that and unset. It's probably fine. So root, command line root, init, command line init, swap, command line swap, man is this code nicer, resume, command line resume, get opt, mount opt, ro. Okay, I do this two-step to add a comma. Do we have that somewhere else? Root weight. I mean, yeah, this overmatches, but nah. Maybe we should make this slightly better, but that's for another day. Oops, wrong key. Modules, RD mod probe things. Oh, I think we have that here too. RD. So I used the same name, so that's not my name. I just made this compatible with Fedora or whatever. Modules equals modules, right? Modules, command line. Get opt in command line rd mod probe equals anything more? Oh, is this even? Oh, that's not even early enough. Oh no, maybe it is early enough. Wait. No, it isn't. What? Cool, this code here never worked. I did this for Chris. Good that I didn't test that enough. Sorry, Chris. Remember when maybe you said it doesn't work? It didn't work. 6 months later, we figured, yes, it didn't work. Okay, so this is earlier now. Command line things, modules things, get opt command line rd things. Oh, here I didn't. We didn't have quotes there. Could use the same pattern. Resume equal. So are we finally done? That hopefully should be cleaner. Mostly, wait, more insertions than deletions. I thought this made this. Oh, I didn't get dev. Is this get dev correct? Get, oh, did I even use this yet? Tor get dev. Actually, maybe I didn't use it on root and swap. I think I only use this for the encrypted Tor here, not root. Yeah. But now we only do this, we only need to do this once before we further improve this. Diversifies my experience. Create my university TC projects. To be honest, someone finds T2 more complicated than Arch. Well, T2 is a system, a build system thing. I mean, the question is what, I mean, Arch is Arch a partial source distribution? I mean, complicated in what sense? At the core, for what T2 can do, it's pretty simple and straightforward. The only thing is we still were recovering from 1 decade of only doing embedded things, of making all the cursed desktop stuff. The only complicated thing in T2 is random shit not building. Arch, when I tried to use it, didn't even have an installer. Oh yeah, that's so true, Kuluk. Yeah, Rock Linux having an installer 20 years before Arch Linux, that's pretty mental. Package manager written in Python, shrugs, garbage. Okay, so you all get dev root equals, let's do get dev from that. Let's hope this, oops. Works like this. It still needs to be further changed for comma separated things, but we will do this in a second. Or resume too, right? Root, init, swap, resume. This probably improves usability of core, of not everything had this translated before, I guess, because it was open coded. I hope Shell can pass that, right? This fancy code here. Let's hope that doesn't break anything. Actually, here we have open loop things. Okay, actually we don't need this here because we did get dev on root. So we split that. Okay, previously, okay, we probably broke that here right now. Maybe not. We remove the first, so we substitute the first. If it's comma separated, this actually will work. We don't need to call it there again. That is already should be. So root comma removed. How do we where do we assign root equals the rest? Somewhere here, root equals We could just call that again on that remaining thing. So what is it usually? Usually this is def vg0 root. Or the crypt device itself. Var equals, what do you mean with that? Okay, let's be future proof and just call it again on get def of the remainder here. We should test that. Let's copy that in the VM and reboot and hope for the best. What is this IP even? Alright, the IP is... By the way, today we develop on Snapdragon, right? Which has this was not my typing, this was the keyboard. This has a phenomenal uptime right now, 23. That's a record. Usually, so when we were running this is Qualcomm hypervisor, whatever the name was, Quen, whatever. It only very rarely had an uptime of more than 2 weeks. And initially, when we hacked this KVM to work, initially it crashed also after like a week, so that it's now up for 23 days is a new record, you all. ARM64 uptime record. See a student, but understanding nothing. Shame on me. That's what you want to share, like, and subscribe, and tell your friends and family to watch these live streams to learn more. So, copy that into the VM. I cut this to preserve executable bits and stuff. Init rd init rd init. Then what do we run? We run. Is this what we have here? Apparently that's what we have here. Let's regen the init rd and see if it boots. If not, we broke our VM. An even smarter way to test this would be like, so next, when we next do overlay things, we should actually have a dedicated VM with init rd and generate this outside of the init rd. We could actually pre-test this. Let's think. Do we have a user? Probably no, we don't. Oh, we have a René user here? Didn't even expect this. Let's run this as so this is of course all permission denied, but this is basically fully testing syntax errors. Fully testing syntax errors with this simple re-execution trick. Probably fine, right? Let's see what happens. Then we need to implement the stacking, and then of course that's only the first step, doing the full bootloader thing, and maybe we check their hidden GitHub. Oh, cool. What didn't work? Swap on cannot. I mean, the RISC-V renders a fun check our secret GitHub. It's like, do you want me error-pronely whole weekend fill boot shit together? Not to mention Risk. Oh, these vendors are really another next level. What? Herling? Do you know Herling? Yeah, we need to do our own ling or we will not be happy. Swap on, you say? But that's after init.rd. I guess it's mostly fine. I guess I don't have here some swap device. The question is, how did we? So that's booting with EFI. So that should be this here, and we boot with UUID. Which UUID is that? Is it this? Def disk by UUID. Is this one? Because there is this. Okay, it's that. Let's test this. The UUIDs didn't match line above. But that's swap. That's another one. Maybe I deleted swap. I don't. Maybe I deleted swap because I needed more space or so. Maybe I don't have swap right now because I needed space to download shit. Sometimes I do such things to my VMs. It's like you're out of disk space is at night. It's like, yeah, rm-rf swap. And do I have here something? There is something though. Which did I wait, what? Huh? What do we have here? No, there's some swap. 6 stuff. This swap. What? Why is this not? Oh wait, this one? Ah, there's what did I say? F. What? Partition? Good. I mean, this disk util is also not the super most amazing tool. Not really sure what's going on there. Seven, 6. So that's fat stuff, and I have no idea what I did here. However, does it work if we UUID equals here? No, we have that. We have like, so 5 years ago, T2 did not have the support. We probably should change the T2 installer stuff. That's the Gentoo Archway, I believe. Yeah, that's supported with Mount. Our initRD didn't historically have this support. Honestly, I'm surprised Sci5 hasn't hit you up with their huge investment things they could pass for funding. No, this it makes no sense for RISC-V. They need all their money for their silicon development. There is, this venture capital things are extremely. I mean, they need to do chip design and not OS stuff. So this is implemented. This works with sys5 init. That's implemented in Mount. So that's in libblock device and Mount and stuff. It's just historically we didn't have support for that in the initRD as we YOLO our initRD ourselves. Yeah, I mean, sure, but I also, yeah. Sci5 Hi5 is not the super most natural match for T2 Linux. I mean, happy about every funding and stuff, but do we have here? No, we don't have here. So I only test this for fun. It's probably fine. Look at that, amazing. Just wanted maximum testing here, of at least somewhat testing. So it's probably fine. Widely tested. If you find bugs. Yeah, the swap came from the FSTab though, not from our init. Probably fine. Okay, let's try to. Okay. Meta computing GitHub. They say they have something in GitHub. They have a GitHub. SPC was wait, this is a Gerling guy. I don't need Gerling guy, I need Meta computing GitHub. They are so funny. Oh. Was it meta computing, right? I mean, it's not like I didn't Google. That is so funny. what is support? What is that here even? IT Helpdesk. Ich verfüge über Bachelorabschluss. Wonderful. Move to not my department. GitHub. Also, please stop sending me job applications. Is it invite, right? Invite. Git. Up. Why does this? Here is U-Boot. DC. Deep. .404. Is that even, or maybe that's not the URL? Wait, what? Why does it say 404? What? Collaborating with companies 2026. That's funny. What happened with this invite? That's those use our GitHub. Welcome, Matic. We're working on improving boot things. Let me just check my other system. Here it loads. 1 second. What did they do there? Why does this not work when... Ah, you know what? I have one other issue, so I cannot... Yeah, that's the thing with this private repositories. I cannot... such a pain, this SSH CLI. It's only blinking like you would here trying to find GitHub. Way arrived. Oh, yeah, it arrived. But they didn't give me any boot code, so I am currently have a paper white that blinks one red LED, and they tell me, but we shared you the U-boot and Linux kernel code. You surely get that working, right? Whoops. Does it, I mean, I don't really want, like, I should not waste my time fiddling a day with things. Oh, like this, it floats. Why does it not load when I manually type that? That's funny. Did I mistype that? Anyway, first of all, I cannot check it out like this. Oh, I hate this modern flow. I mean, okay, it would even be, but so this also like, hey, here's U-boot, but yeah, also you missed 1 O in U-boot earlier. Wait, I missed this, which O, which O, what? Okay, ULO. I mean, that's pretty bloody error prone because I don't even know the format of the SD card and shit. What are those vendors thinking? So this is a state of boot shit. It's like basically nothing. It's like basically go F yourself. Here is someone with Arch Linux. Replace boot splash image things. ROM package for eMMC. Kernel version, Biambu, BMP, boot splash, resolve, what? Build image, Yankee things about porting. Don't port Arch, just use T2 Linux. Banana Pie. Download Arch Linux porting root fs. Fetch U-boot and kernel. Replace, I mean, yeah, I know how to. Okay, let's post market wiki about Banana Pie. Wow, 2 users with the device, yay. Documentation, SOC, things, articles, Ubuntu SD card running NVMe, Yocto? Nah, T2. Why is it not linked to T2 Linux? GPIO JTAG, things, dip switches, aha. So, cool, I actually have their dip switches. Oh man. What an efficient onboarding process. Yeah, there are 2 dip switches. So that's another board though. QSPI data. Are these the only dip switches? Oh, there's another thick botch wire. Yeah, this board has multiple botch wires. I just noticed there's another one. I didn't even see this at first. Yeah, this is the thing. I don't even know where it tries to boot. There, so funny. Getting started with the board with 0 documentation. There is no image. There is 0 image. If there would be I asked them, hey, if any say this is another board. This is K1. I have K3. There is no K3 image on the whole internet as far as I know. I would love to. I have nothing. Like, I would love to. I was begging them, do you have anything bootable? We gave you the source code. Ah, cool. Section needs external contains boot vector and other inner workings of boot ROM seems to be fully undocumented. SDC, EMMC, FSBL. That's impossible. I get this to work. Like, there surely is some binary boot blob shit that they are really funny of. Like, we did I, by the way, turn on my Ryzen? I did. Yeah, I would love to use an image. I just don't have any image. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to mess a weekend with I mean, be my guest. Google Space Mid K3 boot image series. This doku was for K1. I just thought maybe we can reuse some K1 bits that are surely similar but not identical. It's like, if you find any, please, need something. I have nothing. I mean, they have here Fedora 4's released things for Space Mid. I mean, okay, I actually have been here previously. Actually, I think, but this is, so not only is this not the matching board, I also didn't find it. I mean, here was this here. Okay, I did see that earlier. So that's basically maybe, but that's also not the matching board, but better than nothing, yes. What is GA? GA is... This might be the, okay, I see this. I mean, okay, I should take it back. There is not, I mean, there are, yeah. This might be the only public images. But they also don't match my board. The initial boots, how much does it even download? Yeah, so that's what I'm talking. Make fully undocumented, generally available. Why not just... yeah, and so that's exactly the thing what I said earlier, an hour ago, 2 hours ago. We should make this booting much better. So that's so not scaling that I need to download some random Fedora that doesn't even fit my board. Just like, I don't even know what boot files it want anywhere. What is that here? That's a little bit more of a board. I mean, like Muse Pico, Space Mid Status Deb. Wait, this has even no image available. Okay, so this looks like it could maybe fit slightly more my board I have, but yeah. So that might be the only K3 space mid K3 stuff. I've seen this Ubuntu, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So that's Dr. Schubert. You have not been here two hours ago, right? You just joined. So that's why I proposed we should make an open board boot standard with overlay so that you can. I proposed to make a core boot stuff a standard and overlay the OS stuff additionally on top of that, so that this download is only 50 megabyte or maximum 100 and not like huge images watching, but not all the time busy doing preparations for my trip. And also, which trip? Trip to where? Deal with some big corporate nonsense at work. Ah, cool. I heard such things. Speaking of, do they have here image for, they have here ARM? What is the new shit this year? Is what do I have on ARM? Is that what I have on ARM? Because we also need to. Is this what I googled earlier? Meta computing. ARM thing. Fix C issue SB, yeah, this one, CP 8180. Amazing names, right? So that's here. We couldn't download the next Fedora thing. Let's download Fedora images because that totally scales. Hey, why do they have MD5? Even we moved away from MD5. That's funny. Oh, you know what? I'm not even sure if I have enough storage on my. Ah, shit. I might not have enough storage. I have so much shit, you know, from the last. Like, usually I had here nothing. Now I have here garbage. What random shit do I have here more? Yeah, so that's the state of boot things. You need to dissect others people's boot images to, which one was the other? This GNOME workstation, things which did I copy now? Spins non-free? SpaceMed. I should first let this fully download, but yeah. So we are downloading. Oh, they are raw. Funny how these names here are so random. Lowercase, capital. People manually typed stuff or what? Do I even have space left for these raw images? How large would they extract? Like, because I'm running out of 2 terabyte here. Need to delete shit here then. Like my T2 ISOs or stuff. Maybe I shouldn't litter my build there with random images. Yeah, only temporary. Don't get your hopes up. We only have to delete temporary things. How much disk free do we have? 95% full. 1.6. That's not. Wait, that's wrong. There we have 209 gigabyte available. Okay. Unexpected end of file. Yes, I know. I only wanted. Wait, where did it extract to? Did it? Wait, what? Did it delete its? Did it delete that because? It's a partition thing, right? GPT. One GPT. How does this stuff boot? It's still downloading, so. One GPT partition? How large is that? Yeah, so Dr. Schubert, what you're saying, first of all, we need a good name. Do you foresee RISC-V having similar fragmentation issues? Foresee? It's already like ARM, just worse. It's already worse than ARM, I would argue. It's already as worse as ARM has ever been. The thing is, that is most humans are just lemmings who follow other, like just look all the MAGA people and stuff, right? Just blindly follow some. Nah, that's the same here. Like nobody, very few people questions it. Everybody's just like, yeah, that's how we're doing it on Armored Core. Like, no, that this is complete unscalable bullshit. Like, stop doing that, like, man. They're more like most people just accept all this stuff and also maybe technically we wouldn't have had to delete T2 for Fedora. Just I knew I constantly run out of space here. So what is that here? That is disk image things. I mean that's so funny to. Didn't even find that. Did we not find? It's really funny. Just our git, yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm shocked. I got this bare frame mirror download full what? I got this bare boards. I'm shocked that apparently it's not possible to just buy the framework laptop for that. You can only buy, I mean, sure, you can buy the spare parts, like you need to order 20, 30 spare part things. It's a little bit shocking that you cannot just go to framework and order the laptop without board. So now I would need to source I'm not buying an x86 framework to replace the high performance x86 board with. That's somehow funny, and I'm not the first. There are like Reddit discussions of can we not buy just the board. So meter AI here. I mean, basically I could ask the, probably, yeah, can ask Jeff Gerling of like, hey, where did you get your image from? 2026, you need to ask your YouTuber friend of like, hey, where do you get your image from? Meta USD. That's simple library USD files automatically. That is not the right meta computing thing. I mean, for that this is on sale, the support is a little bit lackluster. Shouldn't say that, should I? Shop now, but not download now. Home store news. Things. They have a Discord. Build things. Continue reading. Thank you. Weekly, daily things. Remember. Recently, AI assistant, OpenClaw, quick installation. I don't want OpenClaw AI. I want. That's funny. Everything here is funny. Okay, so that is SpaceMid Kit Raw things. Let's delete this thing here. Let's unzip. So, doctor, how do we name? Yeah, I know, but they just sent it to me, so I'm. But that's, yeah. The thing, I mean, sure, Jeff Gerling is right that given the price of the Apple Neo, the performance is lackluster and certainly the system integration. However, the Apple Neon is not an open platform, and basically that's probably the one product Apple sells without a profit margin to get people hooked, like to get normal, not rich people hooked into the Apple ecosystem. So Apple has it much easier. I mean, the other things, they totally rip you off with all the SSD and memory prices. Also, now that the prices increased so much, not anymore. But I could mention that in the video. It's like, I mean, yeah, but the reality is also like these companies need to understand. I mean, I understand like all of this stuff here are Chinese startups and things, and they try to make the stuff as best and work as they could. But they also need to understand they need to publish more working things. They can like, hey, buy this thing, and then it's Omniboot. There's an Omni group. Don't want to get sued by the Omni group. Yeah, first we need to get some stuff done. Yeah, naming difficult always. So what's this thing doing? The thing is, even this. This will potentially not really work. Here's Linux extended boot things. AFI system. Wait, maybe it has files on that. Oh, wasn't there some partition? Oh, this wasn't really helpful. Wasn't there some partition thing for loop things? So there are 12 sectors, right? Okay, that boots EFI. Okay, let's focus on the RISC-V board. I mean, yes, Jeff Gerling said it has EFI, but does it need to have the EFI BIOS on here? Because, I mean, EFI helps you only so much. You still need a Linux kernel with the support things. But isn't it funny? It has EFI that even partially boots Windows. But you need a special Fedora download image instead of Fedora ARM EFI generic. What a future. I mean, obviously because all the custom drivers. Wait, which is it even? Wait, that's a K3. No, wait, sorry. K3 is EFI? Wait, why is this EFI? I meant the ARM is EFI. This is... I mean, yeah, if you have some EFI payload bootloader thing, wait a second. That is somehow funny. Such cursed stuff even I already get. Confused. Fedora's EFI, but the vendor gives you a U-boot. I have nothing right now. The vendor currently gives me nothing. I just try to figure out what we can decipher from this stuff here. Right now, nothing. So they have here something of 6.18.3. But that's also... nothing really particular. Oh, there's loader. What does loader? Whatever that is. Wonderful. Not loader. That is completely not helpful because this has absolutely zero things unless there is special magic. Unless there's special magic in the... I know the Sun 4, like the... whatever, which SoC was this? Do you... Okay, we had this... I thought I was the only one who used... I thought I was the only one who used Linux. What do you mean with that? Unless there is some magic in the beginning Thumber, that's maybe there's some magic header in there. Some ARM chips did that. That is very disappointing. Many people say that Linux isn't worth it and that's bad. I say your Windows and Mac OS ain't worth it and they are bad. I use Linux since 1996-ish. Maybe this Fedora only works if you have some bootloaders or U-boot stuff in here. Maybe they have downloads. Wait, that's also, yeah, this is the other thing. Maybe they have boot things, because like maybe the Fedora thing only boots if you have the bootloader stuff in the SD. Or this board is so fancy it has... Maybe this board is so fancy it has EFI on in the BIOS. Technical documentation and active. It's also not the board I have. Hello, I clicked there. Oh, that's not the link. Why is this not the link? Okay, I don't really want to do here random things. What is the here? I totally don't have. Yeah, it's funny how news are like, hey, it's there. It's like, yeah, except if you try to run it. Like, it's Heisen support. As soon as you look at it, it disappears. It only exists if you're not looking at it. I mean, how fast is AI in snooping up shit? Keep up the good work. Happy to thank you so much for your 6 months of Prime subscription. That is amazing. Pet U-boot, something like U-boot. I don't want 2022. I want boot flow things are not distributed as a fixed downloadable blobs on canonical locations. They are built article U-boot things of render SDK patches part of understanding. Yeah, for a stage bootloader stuff we need somewhere. But the FSBL is not contained. Yeah, but I ask you to give it to me. Go key takeaway. Give me. Yeah, tell me you're bored. I have a prototype board. Nobody has. This is built part of U-boot. No, they tested this, of course. This is silly that they just don't give me. That's just... I actually need to go home earlier today. Image version things, image K3 version. Duff, what do you mean? You say, let's see what happens if the only thing is I did hear some is this not where I had some... Where did I have my Git credentials? Damn it. Okay, maybe it comes out of U-boot. I thought you built this separately. The thing is, right now I get nothing. They shipped it to me with a debug thing here in this USB-C port, but like there is like nothing coming out of it. Zero. I mean, can I click on zip here? I forgot how is this with this agent stuff? On which username? Which on one system where did I had set this up? Did I set this up here? I hate this SSA agent shit. Where does it even... Yeah, I need to go anyway. But not knowing even SOC details, building some random, you would also a little bit random. Anyway, I have to go. I forgot the time. It is late. As usual, I do some things here between and after work and stuff. Magic. Just like I was trying to get T2 in ARM SPCC, you have trouble with the hell that you would do makes me feel better. Yeah, that's unfortunate reality of, I mean, troll is like, I just tried to figure out, I mean, yeah, this is just the result of not having a standardized boot support procedure thing. Okay, let's continue tomorrow. Let's hopefully get something booted tomorrow if the boards are even working or so. Yeah, the other thing is, I guess I would need to, because I don't have a framework laptop. Jeff Gerling has shown that with I don't have a framework display to connect, so. I guess we should get something on the serial port. Okay, so the ARM board is not really that important to me. They just send it along there. It's a RISC board we wanted to do. Yeah, I have to run. Amazing that so many people tuned in. I hope you enjoyed to learn something. Did you know this? Don't forget to subscribe, support, and stuff. And we end YouTube first for Twitch to raid. So have a good night or day, and I hope to see you tomorrow for the continuation of this totally super fun and improving T2 boot infrastructure to come.